What's up, y'all? It's Q&A Tuesday, where our discussions revolve around psychic awareness and mediumship. If you haven't already hit the subscribe button, what's holding you back? All right, let's get the discussion started, shall we?
So, something that I've experienced recently is I'll have a spirit communicator, and I'll, feel that the spirit communicator is present near me. But then I don't get anything. Like there's usually like a pretty long pause before, or well, not usually, but sometimes it happens where like I'm not receiving any evidence, and I'm just curious, like what to do with that. I think in one reading I did, I was just like, and this person seems kind of quiet. But I don't know. I also feel like that was a little bit of a cop out. So
Well, sometimes they are. If they're quiet, if they were quiet in life, they can be quiet in the spirit world as well. That goes with them. We can't always say that. If we're always saying that, then we need to stop and reflect and see, okay, what could I do differently? The first thing that I would say to you when there's this long silence, it feels long. It could only be a couple of seconds, but it seems like forever when you're working. You get these silent spaces there. Almost always it's because you're not fully in your power. Almost always. Maybe you're just halfway in. Your power in your soul is rising, but it's not expanding out enough to where spirit can literally come in. Because remember, your power is the channel that spirit comes in to get close to you. So if you're only going to hear, and you need to be going to hear to the walls in the room, then it makes it hard for spirit. So then we just snatch information through awareness. So my first thing is, when that happens to me personally, I just close my eyes and take a deep breath, and I step fully into my power. That's the first thing that I do. That's the first thing I check. Am I in my power? What happened? Am I not there yet, or am I just halfway there? And sometimes I just, close my eyes, take a breath, or take a drink of water, regroup, step back into the power, and ask spirit to come really close. But it's usually a power thing. So go within. Could be, this is the standard response I always got. You need to work on yourself, Kay. Okay. What does that mean? What do you want me to do? I know I'm crazy. I don't know. Can I fix it? I don't know. But that's going within, sitting in the power, that sort of thing can help. Yeah. Good question. Well, we've all been there. Sometimes we're still there. Yes, go Paul.
So with interest, I listened to James's question and to your thoughtful reminder. It's such, you have always said that, and it's like, why can't I keep that in my head? And instead, you go into that panic mode, like, oh no, I'm not getting anything. But I've actually given myself some breather. I suffer with a chronic condition that periodically rears its ugly head. And so my question is, in your opinion, do you think it's best to just step back during those periods when physically you're not quite feeling your full self? Or do you think it's okay, you just do the best you can and power through it, which is how I typically go? But then if I have a string of not such strong readings, it starts playing with my mental well-being.
Right. I think it's important for us always to listen to our own intuition and our own bodies. And you'll know that if you need to rest. Yeah. So I think it's individual. It's an individual decision because everybody's different. So follow your own gut. Yeah, sometimes I barrel through, absolutely, and sometimes I don't. I mean, I've gotten on a stage where 5 minutes beforehand, I couldn't get I couldn't get oxygen into my lungs. Couldn't breathe. I was getting dizzy. I was looking at my lips to see if they were turning blue, and I didn't know if I was, but, there was almost 200 people in the room. You have to, you have to do what you have to do. So I stepped up on the stage, got into my power, and it all went away. And I got through the night. Sometimes you just power through. When I can afford it, I step back. If I have that luxury, I just step back. I want to pose a question out there to you guys. I mean, I know that as mediums, we take a look a lot at the evidence. We take a lot of we spend a lot of time just learning how to gather the evidence and connect with the spirit world in a way that we can bring that evidence to our sitter. But is that the only thing that mediumship is about? Just bringing evidence? Yes.
So I had the experience of doing a group reading about a week and a half ago, and wanting to get evidence for each of the communicators that were coming in, and none of them were giving me physical evidence at all.
Mm-hmm.
All of them were giving me basically their personalities and things that they may have done, or things that they did, which was confirmed. Now that evidence, but it always went immediately to the messages, and there were 5-6 people there as I was doing the group reading, and they all understood who that person was that I was talking about, but it was like none of them were giving me any physicality of themselves at all.
Right.
And I had to think about that, and I was asking my spirit guide about it, and and I was just hearing, it's like the important thing was the message. The spirit world knew that, the communicators knew that, and so so I wouldn't rely so heavily on the evidence of their physicality and hearing their names. It was like, and my spirit guide was like, no, that wasn't the most important thing tonight. Mm-hmm. So I had to let go of thinking, did I do enough?
Right.
And so that's why my guide was like, nope, you did exactly what you were supposed to do. Mm-hmm. So it was a lesson for me. I considered it a lesson to not go back and start thinking, did I do enough? Why didn't I get more evidence? It's like it came the way it came. Mm-hmm. But the people understood. Yeah.
I think the thing there is, personality and memories, that's all good evidence. Mm-hmm. And so you want to establish who you have. You want your sitter to know without a shadow of a doubt, you've got my Uncle Joe. I know who you have. And then once you've established that, you can switch gears. Mm-hmm. You can switch gears. You can go into a message. You can even go into more of a spiritual experience with your sitter and your communicator as well. You can even do this when you're working with a group or an audience. as well. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is that as mediums, it's our work is multifaceted. Yes, we give readings to people. Yes, we do that. And we bring in evidence. Our goal in mediumship is to help those here in this world understand that there is no death, that life continues in another world. But there are worlds within worlds, so it's not like they're magically above the clouds somewhere. They're here, right here. It's just a very thin veil that separates us between this other world, right?
Right.
And so the work that we do even goes beyond. In the beginning, it's all about learning how to connect with the spirit world, learning how to, um, communicate with them. That's what it's all about. We want to know how to connect. But can we also bring a spiritual experience with our sitter and their loved ones, where it's not necessarily about evidence, but it's about allowing the sitter and the communicator to have a spiritual experience and connect with one another on a spiritual, energetic level? That's the question.
Yeah. And I totally get that, because as I was, I knew who it was I was getting. I said, I feel this is a grandmother, or or father. I felt this is an uncle, and they went on to give me, it's giving the personalities of them. But it was what I realized. It was about the sitters having that connection to whom I'm talking about, and that the personal messages was for them, for their heart, for their soul to hear.
Right.
So so it was a good lesson for me, because it was like, I know when I do one-on-ones, I get a lot more evidence. I real deep, but in the group situation, it was something that was really different.
It is different when you
Yeah.
work with a group. It is,
Right.
all of that is good. Now, let's look at it on a different level there, where is it possible, even with a group, for us to take the sitter or sitters, if it's a group, and allow them to connect with, say, their ancestors in order to bring healing, generational trauma, heal from that, or even to just learn from the ancestors? Because, as a medium, I know my ancestors have taught me a great deal about my family. But can we, as mediums, still do that with the general public?
Okay, to me it appears that the very fact that we have evidentially established the presence of an entity who isn't anymore physically in this realm, and being in contact with the sitter, even to the most, shall we say, blasé kind of sitter, that is a dimensional shift.
Yes.
Given the fact that they at present find themselves incapable of direct communication. I am talking about the sitter, not about the spirit communicator. They may not be able to experience the experience of being in contact with someone in the other world, but they are now confronted with the incontrovertible fact that this person is dead, but I know that they are talking to me because they are giving me undeniable evidence that this is who they are.
Mm-hmm.
In my view, this is such a huge shift for most people that in itself is actually a spiritual experience.
I agree 100%. Yes. Yes.
And anything more that takes place in that conversation is bonus, if you ask me. There might be animus between, or there might have been animus between the spirit communicator when they were in body and with the sitter, but that doesn't matter. Like in the case of the lady that Tony was speaking about, I also feel that no matter what was the tone of the personality when they were in body, when they are back there, they are part of the love. They're part of the love, and that is their defining characteristic. So any reluctance that they have towards communication would be more towards their deeper understanding of whether the sitter is actually ready for that communication at this time or not.
Right.
Because that realm is neither geared to our time, nor is it geared to our space. So all the time that they need to get back home and readjust to being at home would probably be a flash for us in our time. Right? So they will always be ready when we are ready. So, and they may be accurate or not in assessing that we are not. But if they are not communicating, it's probably because in their assessment, this is not the time for us. But that they are there is already a huge difference for those who are here.
True.
That's the way it feels to me.
What can I do differently other than for me to just give the evidence? What can I do differently as the medium to help my sitter feel their loved one as if they were in the room? What can I do differently to bring that experience, up it a notch or two, other than it is just, I agree 100%, it's a spiritual experience anytime you're communicating with spirit and you've got a loved one that is there with you. What can we do differently as mediums to make it so they can feel? Because as mediums, we feel that unconditional love that their loved one has. We feel it. What can we do differently as mediums so that their loved one feels what we're feeling? That's the question. Yeah, Tony.
I think we just we go into our clairsentience and describe the energy, the feelings that the communicator is giving us. Because I know when I do that, it's not like it's a conscious thing. It just happens quite organically. It's like I just say, I'm overwhelmed with the love that they're sending me for you right now. It's filling my whole body. And as soon as I start to verbalize that, it's just like it comes bubbling out, and I can see with it mostly on a Zoom screen, I can see the person being changed and affected and feeling it too. And so yeah, I think we can just really go into that clairsentience and describe what we're feeling in our bodies.
Yeah, I think that's
emotions.
It's one way. Deborah?
That was great, Tony. What has happened with me, I'm one of those people, when I'm giving evidence, my knowingness comes when I am experiencing goosebumps. So when I say something, it's like, and I know it's so because I have goosebumps. And sometimes the sitter will say, I
do too. Yeah.
And I know that is a wonderful thing because they may not have that direct communication. However, they are having a sensory validation. And
yeah. Suzanne, was your hand up?
It was. I wanted to just contribute as well, agreeing with Tony and Deborah. I think, and I want to add that I have felt like there was one time in particular that I was with a friend, and it was an unintentional connection with her mother. But for me, I'm a touchy-feely person, so to be able to reach out and add that connection, and I wouldn't necessarily to maybe a stranger, but I know that I have before touched somebody when I felt very compelled to touch them,
Yeah.
their shoulder, or what have you. So for me, that's a piece that I feel like I would easily add in working with somebody if it felt like that's what the spirit communicator was conveying. Like I remember another time that I was in a practice session with a mentor and one of the other students, and I remember saying, I feel like he's reached out his hand and he just wants to hold your hand. And like I even brought my hand out as if I was myself holding his hand.
Yeah.
And when I shared that with her, she just bawled.
Yeah.
And so that was significant to her. So I think that extra added.
I do think that plays a big role in it. I know that I had somebody who contacted me and wanted a reading. I started doing the reading. I brought her mother through and was bringing in the evidence, and I wasn't even 5 minutes into it, and I knew it's just not what she wanted. This is not anything of what she wanted. She didn't care about the evidence. She believed fully that I could bring her mother through. She knew I could. She didn't want it, and I just stopped and I just looked at her and I said, you don't really need to hear the evidence, do you? And she goes, no. And I said, you just want your mom to hold you, don't you? And she said, yes, that's all I need. She says, I haven't felt my mom in weeks, and I don't know where she's at, and I need her right now. And I just stopped and I just said, close your eyes, put your hands out. She's right beside you. She's taking your hand, hold it, just hold it. And she was just bawling. And that's all she needed. That's it. That was it. And so I just let them be. That's it. I didn't have to do anything. I just said, just hold you. She's right here with you. So I just left them alone for a while. And then, she wiping the tears away. And I said, that's all you needed. We don't have to go any further. So sometimes I think as mediums, we have to, intuitively just know that some of our recipients, you may only need to give a couple of pieces of evidence to prove who you have, and then just intuitively figure it out. What is it that they really, really need, right? And then give them what they need. And if it's just to be held by their mom or whoever, then that's what you do. And you help them feel that. And, you think of a parent who's lost a child. That's maybe all they need. And I know I missed the boat on this reading. And I was giving a reading to a lady, and I knew she wasn't happy. I even tried to stop the reading because she wasn't happy. And she was giving me no's and no's, and I did try to stop the reading, and she wouldn't let me. I was going to refund her money. She wouldn't let me. She goes, no, I want you to continue. So I did. And I said to her, and I said, because she was giving me all these no's, and finally I just stopped because I knew I was right. Not to be arrogant or anything, but I knew what I was getting, and I just said to her, but you do understand this gentleman that I have, correct? Yes. And he was this, and he was this, and he was this. Yes. After I stopped it and did it little by little, she then changed every one of those no's to a yes. And we got to the end, and I looked at her and I said, I know you're not happy with this reading. Who did you want to hear from? And she goes, all I wanted to hear was from my son. And I went, no problem. Let's see if he's here. Maybe I missed the boat. Maybe I didn't feel him. And then he was there. And then the son was able to come in. And so, when I go back and I relook at, look at that reading that I did, I'm like going, you weren't paying attention, Kay. You knew she wasn't happy. Something wasn't right. And I should have stopped that reading long before what I did. I stopped it after about 20 minutes. I stopped it. And that's when I said, who did you want to hear from? Because at that point, I was like, she doesn't want to hear from these people. That's why she's gone, yes. That's why she was doing that. Which is hard on you, the medium. Because it doesn't help at all. But yeah, so I missed the boat there. Lesson learned, right? So then when it came around with my childhood friend, I was like, yeah, I've been down this road before. We're stopping right now. I learned my lesson on this. Yeah, Jean.
Now I'm trying to remember what was the question. What did I want to say? I think it was about, and I've done group readings before on Zoom, but it's also getting back to that about how do you get them to feel, having the spiritual experience.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I asked the very beginning is, has anyone ever had any type of reading before, whether it be tarot, astrology, medium, and no one raised their hands to say yes. So you're in a room where I had some skeptics. And so, you do want to get validation and you kind of listen to them. But I felt that the communicators that were coming in and the type of evidence that I was giving, it was all interesting because all the messages that they were saying were things that those persons were going through or had gone through at the moment, because the spirit world will kind of tap you on the shoulder and say, mention this.
Mm-hmm.
But they all said, majority of the spirit communicators said, this is my job with you right now. And they described, this is what I'm doing on the other side for you. And that seemed to be, like you could see people were going, okay, and just even in the beginning of getting people in a state of receptivity before you even start, so that it won't be that, frantic monkey brain or whatever else, but just getting them in that position of relaxation.
Yeah.
And allowing them just invite who you want to come.
Yeah. Yeah. Think of the loved ones that you want to hear from. Absolutely. And I just, I've been thinking a lot about the spiritual aspects of what it is that we do. And I often wonder, are we doing enough spiritually? Because many times people who do come, especially in America, people who do come for a reading usually are seeking some kind of spiritual experience, or they're seeking spirituality, maybe within themselves, So what role is it that we play as mediums to help that soul evolve a little more on their own spiritual path? And can we do that in a reading? Is that something that we can touch on? and work towards.
I say yes.
I think I heard more than one voice. Yes. Go, Paul.
I think it's all about vulnerability. This whole thing of spiritual connection. I mean, I think it's only in our physical uh, dimension that this is even spoken of. And I think this is also more of a 20th century construct that we speak of a spiritual connection. I don't think that our foreparents were at all worried about that, because they didn't question the reality of a spiritual connection. It is the post scientific revolution time when we kind of split all learning from learning of the spirit versus the learning of the physical and all that stuff, that this has even become an issue for humanity. And so in that context, it's about us bridging the gap by taking on the vulnerability of establishing that which already is. There isn't a connection that's missing that we have to bring forth. That connection already exists. And we are truly mediums, being the medium through which the sitter realizes that the connection exists rather than makes the connection.
Right.
Right? And like you said, there ain't no other place. It's all right here. And
it's all right here.
Yeah, absolutely. Even the veil is an illusion rather than a reality.
Yeah.
It's about getting to the state where we acknowledge that we've been fooling ourselves that we can't see them, rather than saying, "Oh, I wasn't able to see. Now I can see." So it is that taking on the vulnerability to risk being said, you are a goof, you're trying to that standard denial which comes up in the individual. It's the vulnerability to risk that we need to be ready for. And as we are ready for that, maybe we'll fall flat and break our nose a couple of times, but we can't really go wrong.
We have to take the risk. Definitely have to take that risk. And we will have the naysayers who won't believe. But then you'll have those that are searching. Those are the ones that I think we can reach. The naysayers, we may not ever be able to reach them. May never, because it's it's the thought process there. But if you have someone who's open, who is searching or wanting to believe that their loved ones are still with them, those are the ones that we can reach and perhaps allow them to have an experience, a spiritual experience, in that they feel and they really connect as if their loved one was in the womb with them. So it's just taking it to another level. And I think that's important. I think, just like my friend, that's all she needed. She needed to feel her mother. I think we're all like that. There's always somebody, I think we all have somebody in the spirit world that sometimes we just want them to come and wrap their energetic body around us so we can feel them one more time. Is it because that we're going through something here in this world that we need to be reminded of their love and their support? We just need to feel them one more time? Or is it that we're just missing them and we want to feel them? But can we help the non-medium have that same kind of experience? And would that be part of our role as a medium? That's the question. Yeah, Jean.
So we could have that conversation with the spirit communicators that come in prior to us giving the reading, I would think, and asking the communicators that we want the person who you're coming to present yourself to absolutely feel your presence. I feel you, but I'm asking, would you allow yourself to envelop them or let them know that you're there in some way?
Yeah.
That, you know, and I think maybe it'll be okay to ask them to do that. And therefore, no matter where that person is in their belief, at that moment, they're able to really feel their presence.
Yeah.
I would think.
So it could be part of your opening greetings of, let's just take a moment. Let's invite your loved ones in.
Right.
Kind of thing, maybe. Yeah.
Right.
Good
And
discussion.
Which you know, I do. And I think, but I was thinking like just conversation between me and them. I'm asking if you would do that. Yeah.
You mean the spirit communicator?
The spirit communicator. And asking them, would they please, so that this person can feel your presence or have this experience of knowing that you are around.
But don't you, I think for most spirit communicators, not all, but for the majority of them, I think that is what they want. Right. They want their loved one to feel them. They want their loved one to know, I'm right here. Yeah. I'm not gone anywhere. And sometimes it's just having that conversation with people who aren't a medium, in that, do you remember when your loved one was here? What was it that you can remember about how they felt when they were around you? That energy. Do you remember that feeling, the sensation of when your loved one came up to you, put their arm around you, or held your hand, or whatever it may be? Do you remember what that felt like? Do you remember the smells? Do you remember? Let's see if we can't create that today. Let's invite them to come, be open for that experience. It's worth a try. It's worth the try for them to have that experience. And for those that are on the fence, if they have that experience, maybe that might be what tips them over to becoming a believer. My loved ones haven't left. I felt them. So, good discussion. I'd like to continue this. I'd like to do some experiment and see what we can do.